It probably sounds strange, maybe even stupid, to say that there are dangers from being raised in the church, but there are. I was raised in the church. I've spent my entire life attending, participating in, and serving in leadership roles within the church. And I can tell you firsthand that there are clear dangers that arise out of being raised in the church. I know of these dangers because I've found myself way too far down these paths in my own life. I'm going to do my best to describe these dangers today in the hopes that maybe I can help someone from going down these paths or turning around if you're already on one of these paths. Before we jump into the list, let me say that I am glad I was raised in the church. Please don't twist my words and say that I'm saying it's bad to be raised in the church. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that being raised in the church doesn't magically prevent you from being a target for Satan. He still wants to keep you from knowing Jesus, and his ways to do this can be really clever. Clever enough that those of us in the church may not even notice them. With that, let's jump into the 6 dangers of being raised in the church. Danger number 1 is that you never make it your own faith. It's what you've always done. Mom and Dad were good parents and took you to church. And they weren't hypocrites about it, acting all nice and Christian-y on Sunday morning and then acting just like everybody else the rest of the week. They were completely sincere and raised you with values that were aligned with the Bible class lessons and sermons you were hearing. It's just what your family did, so you've kept up the tradition and you're taking your kids to the same kind of church you were raised in. And if you're honest, you really don't know that much about other churches. You felt good about what your family did, and so there was no reason to question it or investigate other options. So the question is it your faith? Do you have a personal understanding and commitment to it, or is it just what you are comfortable with? Danger number 2 is that you feel like you deserve to be saved. Just like we said in danger number 1, you were raised in a good church-going family. You didn't do the things that a lot of your schoolmates did. As a matter of fact, you were sometimes teased for being a goody two-shoes. You didn't get in much trouble at school. Almost never went to detention, never got suspended, not even close. So if anyone's going to heaven, it's surely going to be you. After all, heaven is for the good people, and you're clearly one of them. You clearly deserve to go to heaven someday. You've been on the straight and narrow path your whole life. I mean, take a random cross-section of people out of society, and there's a good chance you'd be in at least the top 10%. Those Bible verses about all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, or there is no one righteous but God, must be exaggerations. Surely they don't apply to someone like you that's been raised in the church and deserves to go to heaven. Danger number 3 is really just a result of danger number 2. Danger number 3 is that you've never come to know the joy of being saved. After all, it's hard to feel saved if you never thought you were lost. You're proud that you're a good person. Sure, when you were younger, it hurt a little when you were made fun of for always having to go to church, or not cussing like some of your classmates, or you blushed when they told dirty jokes. Sure, maybe you spread your wings a little when you went off to college, but nothing too terrible that would put your eternity in jeopardy. And you've straightened out your path from these minor excursions. and now have a family of your own that you're raising to go to church, just like your parents did with you. It may not always be fun or convenient, but it's what you're supposed to do, so you do it. You can tell people about your church, but can you describe to them the joy you feel knowing that a sinner like you has been cleansed by the blood of Jesus? Have you ever actually experienced that joy? Danger number 4 is related to both danger number 3 and danger number 2. Danger number 4 is that you look down on others with a judgmental attitude. You've made the right choices. You've not gone and done the fun but sinful things that others have chosen to do. You were raised in the church to be a good person. And so when they run into trouble for the bad decisions they make, you understand that they're just getting what they deserve. They're just suffering the consequences for their poor choices. Why would you feel sorry for them? They could have made better choices just like you did. You'll get your just rewards and they'll get theirs. Danger number 5 is that you define Christianity as going to church. Going to church is where you spend time with your Christian friends. At church is where you do the Bible study. At church is where you get together for fellowship meals. At church is where the youth group events happen. At church is where the blood drive happens. At church is where the vast majority of the church things happen. So yeah, being a Christian means going to church. Finally, danger number 6 is that you get comfortable and stop growing. You see, if you've been raised in the church, have always been a good person, consistently go to church and know that you deserve to go to heaven, why wouldn't you be comfortable? What would be the point of constantly challenging yourself to grow? I mean, at this point, that would pretty much be a waste of time and effort, wouldn't it? You were raised in the church, you're a good person, and at this point you can keep doing what you've always done and coast on into heaven. I mean, what a deal. So, how dangerous are these dangers? They're really not that big of a deal, are they? I believe in Jesus, I go to church, I'm a good person. So aren't we just being picky here? Aren't we just looking for something to criticize? I wish that were the case, but the words I read in my Bible cause me to come to a conclusion that this is a big deal. These dangers are really dangers. 2 Corinthians 13:5 says that we are to examine ourselves to see that we are in the faith. To see that we are in the faith. What does that mean? Well, Paul was writing this to the church in Corinth. He didn't tell some random people on the street to examine themselves. He told the members of the church to examine themselves to see if they were in the faith. Which means that it's possible to be in the church but not in the faith. Faith is a trust and reliance on God. It's completely possible to regularly attend and participate in church things but not have that trust and reliance on God. Your church doesn't save you. God saves you through the sacrifice of His Son. And Paul saw the need to remind us to make sure we weren't confusing these two things. And speaking of the Son of God, Jesus Himself has some very strong words to share with us about this topic. In Matthew 7:21 through 23, right near the end of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus gives a stark warning. You see, Jesus says that on that day, referring to judgment, there'll be a lot of people that call Him Lord and tell Him about all the things they've done, all the church activities that they were involved with. And what must surely come as a surprise to them, Jesus says to them, "Go away, I don't know you." But I was raised in the church. I did all the church stuff. I'm a good person. I deserve to go to heaven. I'm a better person than all those other people that never went to church and did all those terrible things. I spent my whole life going to church. But his answer is still, "Depart from me, I never knew you." You see, the real danger of these 6 dangers is that we've deluded ourselves, thinking our ticket was punched because we were raised in the church. But because we were raised in the church, we have a really high impression of ourselves. And because we have a really high impression of ourselves, we never saw the need or took the time to know Jesus. We were busy doing our church stuff. And because of that, on that final day, Jesus tells us to go away. So, are these 6 dangers really dangerous? Yeah, they are. They're desperately dangerous, dramatically so. Like I said when we started, I've been too far down the road on all 6 of these dangers at some point in my life. And to be honest, I still find some of them tempting from time to time. So I try to pay attention to Paul's advice and examine myself to make sure I am really in the faith. And I hope you'll do the same. Thanks for listening. God bless you on your journey.